Susie and Jeanette, it's so great to have you here. Why don't we start with a round of introductions? Susie, would you like to go first?
Sure, yes, thanks for having me today with all of you. And my name is Susie Collins. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a Senior Director of Global Equality Strategy at Salesforce. I'm also an immigrant from Peru. Hola a todos. I live in LA. I am a mother of two boys, and I'm a caregiver to my parents. So that just shows you a bit of the diversity that I represent. In my role at Salesforce, I help build strategies as we think about our international approach to equality, as well as partnering with our employee resource groups and employee success teams. I spent the past 8 years working in DEI. I come from Amazon, and before that, I was at Nordstrom and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So what I love about DEI, obviously, is the purpose, right? And the impact that we can have in people from all backgrounds, but also from a professional standpoint is the diversity of sectors where we can work, right? And bring ideas to the table. So that's a bit about me.
Great, amazing. Thank you for sharing everything. And Jeanette, can you give us an introduction as well?
Yeah, hi, Patricia, and nice to meet you, Susie and Patricia. You both, it's great, it's a pleasure. My name is Jeanette Zelaya Gwynn. I am currently the Senior Director of Demand Gen Marketing at Cadence Design Systems. The middle name Zelaya is still there because that is my maiden name. My dad is from El Salvador. That's where my Latin roots comes from. As I mentioned, I'm currently leading a fairly large marketing organization at Cadence. Besides that, I am also a mother of two little girls, 6 and 8, and that's why there's, stuff in the background because that's how they entertain themselves while I'm on conference calls all day. I sit on the board for Child Advocates of Silicon Valley. That is a nonprofit organization that basically provides voices for foster children that have been abused and neglected. I am the lead for the Latinx inclusion group at Cadence. We call it Cadencia. I also sit on the board for our local Little League organization. My daughters are both avid softball players, and this is an organization that treats baseball and softball together as one unit. So I wanted to make sure that the girls in the organization were heard and were represented equally as well. And I think that's about it. I sit on a couple other committees at Cadence, but I keep myself busy, but I'm very excited to be here and super, super excited to just share what Cadence has done with the Latino community and all of our DE&I initiatives. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you, for making the time today. I know that you're all very busy and have so much going on. It's so great to be talking to you. And to start things off, as both of you know, the last 2 years have been a very difficult period for our country. And we've had a health crisis and we had a racial reckoning that has impacted the ways we do business. Given all these experiences, how has your DEI strategy evolved to meet and address these challenges?
I'm happy to go first, if that's okay. So it's a really good question. I think it can set up the tone for the conversation. And I guess the first thing I want to acknowledge is that equality has been a long-standing core value at Salesforce. But over the past few years, we've been able to, prioritize some of the work. And especially in the past 2 years, we also want to recognize that our society has, experienced so much social injustice, racism, and hate. And all this while enduring a global pandemic, which has disproportionately impacted women and people of color. In 2020, at Salesforce, we established the Racial Equality and Justice Task Force to drive systemic change in our workplace communities, but also focusing on 4 core areas. So if you think about the 4 Ps: people, policy, philanthropy, and purchasing. So since then, we've taken action in terms of standing up new goals, as well as programs to drive that systemic change that we're working towards. Also, we have taken a multi-layer approach as we think about the individual of how do we create that change to have a better employee experience. Relationships, how do we create a stronger connection and improve management capability and enablement. And then as we think about the organization, right, what are the system, processes, and policies that we need to create to ensure that we advance equality? The last thing I will mention is, I get really excited here because I'm part of that team, is our new focus in our international approach, right? So we're making big investments in our global team and strategies to be able to personalize the experiences. So it resonates with employees around the world, right? As we think about our growth in Europe and in India, in Latam, I think it's very important to come from a place of humility and understand, right, that we're a US-based company, yet we have a lot to learn if we want to be seen as a global organization.
Yeah, and similar to that, what we're doing at Cadence is, the pandemic and the racial injustices brought so many new challenges. And we have very much this one team culture, right? So we had to keep connection strong and highlight our people first philosophy. So very similar to you, Susie. And so we introduced a number of new initiatives. So we transitioned programs for women, interns, voluntary to a virtual setting, right? We all had to pivot to that kind of environment. This actually allowed us to reach more of our employees and open up events globally. And so that's something like the positive that came out of the pandemic. It just broadened our reach. I was able to do that within my own team, which was definitely a benefit. We expanded our women's mentorship program to all entry levels and mid women. So it was entry level and mid-level women at the company. So more than 400 women were matched with mentors. So that opened up significantly as well. We launched a new platform. It's called Espresso. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with it, but basically we use this as an opportunity to facilitate employee connections around personal interests like parenting, gaming Fridays, book clubs, and other fun activities. We also created toolkits for managers with ideas on hosting virtual socials, which I had to do with my organization. Rather large team that was global across different time zones. As a company, we gave them toolkits so that they could figure out ways to get people engaged. So we pivoted our company-wide giving campaign to a virtual format as well, providing ways for employees to give and volunteer virtually. So a couple just additional things that we did. We noticed, and I know that this is worldwide, right? The pandemic created a sense of vulnerability for all of our employees. So we knew that in order for us to succeed through it, we had to protect their health and well-being first, right? That was the first priority. And yes, that was above productivity and results, right? Which as a company, a business, that's a very difficult decision to make, but we knew that we had to do that in order to be successful. So we had cross-functional and global COVID-19 task force. And this was like instrumental in keeping our employees informed. We had frequent, very transparent communications. We gathered employee feedback through surveys. We provided trainings, all that to make sure that they felt like they were in a safe environment. And we maintained the trust and confidence through the frequent communications. And that's what allowed us to transition through this difficult time.
Well, thank you both. I mean, I think these are all very important initiatives and definitely essential for a lot of the companies. And, I'd also like to know what are some of the biggest pain points and roadblocks that you have roadblocks in tech when it comes to making progress towards diversity, equity, and inclusion? And maybe what are some of the opportunities that you have noticed? And maybe you can start with Susie.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, I think the first thing is that the pandemic, right, has given us a rare opportunity to understand what can we do better, right? How do we redesign our systems for all employees, right? So over the past 2 years, we have redesigned our programs and processes to put equality in the center. And that's blasted across the company, which is really makes it in a way, from where I see it, right? I don't have to make the business case. I don't need to get leadership buy-in because everyone is already really aware of where we are as a company culture. That is, how do we integrate and activate and operationalize that equality in how we work. So we've set up those new bold goals that I mentioned earlier around the 4 Ps: people, policy, purchasing, and philanthropy. We've reimagining our hiring and processes as we think about Salesforce flexible agreements. We've introduced new benefits and resources to support parents and caregivers. And, as a mother of 2 boys, 3 and 8, I can tell you that this is the company that gives me the most flexibility, one that allows me to be a full-time mom like I am, and I put that before anything else, and I've actually encountered some, I had to take family leave, very soon after I joined the company. And that was just having my employer, back me up, during a really difficult time was something that I have never experienced, and that I felt like it definitely increased my my loyalty for the company, because they were family. We've introduced new programs to accelerate representation, right? And we also share publicly our data in terms of our underrepresented minority groups on our website. And at this year, we've also tied compensation to the ESG goals, including representation.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, so for those of you who are not familiar with Cadence, we're in a deeply technical space, and it's called, I'll refer to it as EDA, electronic design automation. That's the kind of software and hardware that we work on. So most of our candidates, they have to have prior EDA experience in order to understand the technology that we work with. So our candidate pool is super limited. Recruiting senior leaders is also a significant challenge because of this niche experience expertise that we require. So to really shift the diversity demographics within the company, we're evolving our approach to the talent we hire. So recruiting students at undergraduate levels where there are still constrained but higher representations of these groups, we're building in-house training on Cadence tools to build their EDA capabilities when they join. So they already come to Cadence with that kind of knowledge and feel comfortable. So we're also specifically targeting 7 universities that are among the top 20 universities in the US in the number of bachelor's degrees awarded to Black and or Latinx students. So we at Cadence, we're providing additional requisitions to managers to hire students from these schools, and they have special career development programs to retain these students as well.
Yes, and recruiting and providing support for employees is so important, especially in order to improve diversity, definitely. And, as Latino women yourselves, what do you think, what should the tech industry do to support up-and-coming Latina talent? And what is your company doing to support your Latina team members?
Well, I'm here, right? So I mean, to me, that really matters, right? That I was recruited for this role and I was able to equally interview the organization, to ensure that I was set up for success. So I've had a pretty amazing experience and I'm really proud of working at Salesforce. So there's a few things when we think about also the intersection of gender and race, right? As a Latinx, Latina women. So one thing is Latino Force is one of our 12 employee resource groups that is really like powered to support employees who are Latinx, but also create a space for allies and in broader communities. And I serve as an advisor to the Equality Latinx Latino Force ERG. And they provide a network for folks to support one another, to learn about each other's stories, to strengthen their leadership skills and thrive personally and professionally. And I was just with a group of them in Chicago last week and the week before at our ERG Leadership Summit in San Francisco, and the energy that those folks bring to the organization and commitment for equality, it's amazing. We are one of the first companies that compensates our global equality leaders across the world for their commitment and work that they're doing for equality. So I think that really it allows, like just have that amazing result from our ERGs. Something else that we're doing that, again, as a woman, it's something that I very much consider before taking a job is equal pay, right? So this year we've completed our 7th equal pay assessment. And the company has spent more than $22 million to address any differences in pay among gender globally and race and ethnicity in the US. So having that mechanism, to track, to make sure that if we have a merger or acquisition, to ensure that women are paid equally across the world and in race in the US, because that's something that we can track, I think is extremely important. And then communicating with everyone, what is it that we're doing? A couple more things. The Warm Line is one of our programs that really looks at employee advocacy, and that's offered to Latinx employees as well as Black, Indigenous, LGBTQI, and women to enable confidential conversations with advocates, focus on belonging, equity, and career navigation. So that's another program that supports employee success at the company. And last but not least, I would say, in 2016, we established the Chief Equality Officer, which is an Executive Vice President, which is now led by Lori Castillo Martinez, a fellow Latina. So having that role and a seat at the table across leadership, really enables systemic change. And, we have an advocate at the highest level.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I would just say that, we are set up to be the most inclusive organization and leading with a global mindset, accelerating representation, focusing on the employee experience, design these intentional systems, right? Or redesign and engage stakeholders it's how we're driving that equality strategy.
Yeah, and Susie, it's interesting that you mentioned the compensation. Cadence just announced to a program. Basically, the leadership team at Cadence is now it makes folks accountable, right? You set up these programs in place, and so based on whether or not they're able to show an impact or success in our DE&I initiatives and also our sustainability project as well. It makes everyone aware of the initiatives, and then there's ways to, by data, make them accountable and make sure that they're actually following through and supporting these initiatives as well. So I love that. Cadence is definitely doing those kind of programs as well. We are always about promoting one Cadence, one team. We say it all the time. I'm actually, to my team, I'm always like, hashtag one team, always, right? So we're always trying to foster inclusion and embrace diverse backgrounds, experiences, and ideas. And that's what I love about the Demand Gen marketing team too, is like I mentioned before, it spans multiple time zones. So I am dealing, it's very heavy on the female side. I'm trying to recruit those guys to the marketing team. But in general, we've got so many different cultures, ways of thinking, ideas, and it's so much fun to bring the team together as a whole. So I try to foster that within my team as well. So there's understanding of the importance of uplifting and empowering one another, recognizing the valuable contribution our very diverse workforce brings to our business. And that is something that I find beneficial with my team as well. So I suck up all that good energy, and it's all learning experiences for everyone. And I think that definitely helps specifically with Latinx, but also just broadly with the DE&I initiative. So we also have a lot of mentorship opportunities available. We work with Women Unlimited. If you're not familiar with this program, I did it. It was a 12-month program. We do Empower, which I believe is 6 months, and Lead, which is a 12-month program. This definitely changed just how I was taking that path on my career development. And we offer a lot of these type of mentorship opportunities across the board. So this one in particular with Women Unlimited, it's for entry level, mid-management positions. And we're working on their career development with like 360-degree assessments, working on just boosting their confidence and building powerful connections. So we also partner with Girls Who Code, which is a nonprofit organization that empowers young women to pursue computer science, which is obviously another big initiative that we're involved with at Cadence. Each summer, we also host a summer immersion program. It's a 2-week program where thousands of girls come together. They explore introductory computer science skills and create their own website to spread awareness for a cause that they care about. So since 2018, our sponsorship has helped support over 15,000 girls to help them learn about computer science and to make an impact in the community and prepare for a career in tech. So besides this too, we just partner with a bunch of other various groups at Cadence: National GEM Consortium, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, National Society of Black Engineers, and the Society of Women Engineers as well. So lots of different groups that we're involved with at Cadence to make everyone feel included.
And if I can add just what Janet said around mentorship and sponsorship, I know that a lot of the viewers today work for, technology corporations or in other sectors. And sometimes it can take like a little bit of effort on our end to like apply for those programs and submit an essay or get the referrals or assessment, whatever is it that it's required. But I can also say that I've greatly benefited from those leadership type of programs, the 60 coaching, the facilitation piece, because you can take that with you anywhere you go.
Absolutely.
So obviously your employer is investing on you for your leadership growth and your retention, right? But ultimately, those are things that you can put on your resume that could help you in anything you do. So I guess my advice is just look for them, right? Sometimes they're not so easy to find. Sometimes they're being piloted with a certain team in your organization. Send them an email and say, hey, this is who I am. Can I be part of the pilot? I always say like the worst is that people say no, and then you move on and find a new opportunity. And I know us as Latinas, we're very resilient and smart. So just go for it.
Absolutely, right. Taking advantage of those opportunities, because I will say so much of this happened because of the pandemic as well. I just didn't have exposure to it. And then all of a sudden my entire world opened up. And there was something that I learned from Women Unlimited, and it was talking about like having your own board of directors. And that was something I never considered to be valuable or important to me. And then once I started having a bunch of people on my team, on my side, to help me continue developing, not only did it make me a better employee, better mom, better wife, all that good stuff, it also just provided me with an opportunity to become a better leader, right? With such a diverse team, it was important for me to learn how to listen and then also be able to lead as well. So yes, sorry, I was just tagging on to you, Susie. Totally agree.
No, I love it. I love to hear about the pay equality initiatives, and mentorship has been so impactful for me as well. And I love to hear how you've both been involved. And while we're in the subject at this very moment, have you seen any progress in the number of Latinas taking on leadership positions at your company? And I would also be interested in hearing how it would compare to last year's numbers as well.
Yeah, I think you can tell by the way I talk, right? Like equality is about taking action, right? So we can have beautiful marketing and words, but essentially it's like, how do we track that success and measure it? And again, pivot if needed to ensure that we're able to increase representation. And so first of all, right, it's about that employee experience, and ensure that, we hold ourselves accountable. So we've set up these goals that, as I mentioned, you can see them on our website. And one of the public representation goals that we have set up as a company is to increase our representation of underrepresented minorities, which includes Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and multiracial leaders by 50% by 2023. So each quarter, we share the progress of our goals through a public and internal and external update. In our last update, we shared that 50.7% of our US workforce is now made up of underrepresented groups, exceeding one of our public representation goals a year ahead of schedule. And then if we think about the Latinx representation, we are 5.3% of US employees identify as Hispanic and or Latinx individuals. So we are seeing progress, right? We're not where we want to be, but I think measuring the goals really allows us to hold ourselves and our leaders accountable. Again, we're not where we want to be, And we're receiving that feedback, right, to ensure that, you know, we continue to share that publicly, because that makes also future candidates interested in working with us, because they can see that transparency from day one.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, Susie. Yeah, and definitely something to look up to. We really don't have a big number of Latinx leaders at Cadence, unfortunately. It's something, well, you're looking at one of them, but it's a very small group. It's something that Cadence does acknowledge, and it is something that we're working on. We have to change it, and I am thrilled to be part of that team that is, you know, fostering change, and that's what we're working on. So like I mentioned before, we are providing a lot of more opportunities to employees, especially in underrepresented groups, to grow their career. As I mentioned, the career development, mentorship, all of these ERGs to help them feel that they can, you know, rise up. It's something that Cadence knows that is a gap, and we're working on.
Yeah, it's great to hear that both of you are working on it, and the transparency of it as well. It's so important. And so I'd also like to know, what's your company doing to ensure that all employees of color, including contingent workers, have a career path that will bring more women and men of color into leadership positions? And maybe we can start with you, Janet.
Yeah, sure. So our CEO and executive management team, they have a diversity, equity, and inclusion top priorities for the company. So over the past 7 years, we've developed a comprehensive strategy that looks holistically at the areas we need to focus on to support diversity within the company. So this includes university relations, recruiting, training, career development, pay equity and promotions, community engagement, brand and employer brand, and supply chain and partnerships. So we offer all employees access to career advancement opportunities. Again, I'm another a person that has been benefited from it. I talked about Women Unlimited. I also did a mini MBA with the University of Santa Clara. I did a leadership program with UC Berkeley as well. And because of my work with the Latinx inclusion group, Cadencia, there's just been so much more exposure. I've had an opportunity to just extend my reach beyond the Latinx community, but at least starting within there. One of my interviews last year was I got to interview the grandson of Cesar Chavez, which was just, again, mind-blowing, and things that I got to learn that I'd never been exposed to before. That's all through Cadence. I got that through Cadence. So as I mentioned before, so the Advanced Leadership Program for Black, Latinx, and female employees, mentorship programs for Black, Latinx, and female employees, unconscious bias and allyship trainings, huge thing that my entire team had to go through. All of our executive management had to go through as well. And that was definitely an eye-opening experience. And then we've emphasized employees' career growth with our advanced leadership and impact. So this is a mentorship program for women at Cadence. It's been happening over the last several years. We also do it with the Black and Latinx employees since, well, we started it in 2021. So these programs have just provided specialized coaching, workshops, and development opportunities. I've benefited from it. I've encouraged a good majority of my team to do it as well. And you can see just the impact that is made on the organization in marketing and within Cadence.
Great. And Susie, from you?
Sure, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, right? So I believe in mentorship, right? And we have a variety of opportunities for employees to succeed as we think about the representation of people of color. So there's a quality mentorship program that pairs employees of colors with executives to help them navigate their careers. And the program was actually funded by our equality or ERG group leaders in an effort to create more access to the communities that they represent and to senior leaders, and is now one of our core programs for the equality team. We also have an underrepresented minority URM leadership program, which is in partnership with the Executive Leadership Council, ELC, that has doubled the participation and integrated participation as an input in our key talent processes. We've piloted the Women's Leadership Program to help last year to help accelerate women representation in executive roles and increase access and opportunities. And those are just 3 examples of things that are a part of our equality enablement team, which is led by my colleague, Mike Kelly. He has an amazing team of leaders who also represent the communities that we're serving and really helping us build human-centric programs, right, that help navigate and accelerate the leadership roles for our employees of color.
It's great to hear that you're both encouraging mobility within the company as well. And we kind of talked about this earlier, about recruiting as well, right? And we all know that there's some issues in the pipeline of people applying for jobs at tech companies. What's your company doing to help universities and underrepresented communities obtain a better balanced pipeline of applicants?
Well, we have a team dedicated to these, right, which is called our Future Force team. And this is a team that is here to help attract, retain, and cultivate the next generation of Salesforce leaders. And our interns make up some of our most diverse and global employees, similarly to the representation of, the new generation in the country, right? So we continue to invest in our interns and have committed to making 18% of our external hires through Future Force. We recently expanded the program with Future Force Tech Launchpad, and it's a new pre-internship program that provides underrepresented students in computer science access to hands-on technical training, relevant work experience, and mentorship earlier in their career journeys. And we've partnered with CodePath, a nonprofit committed to increase diversity in tech. And CodePath is working intentionally with HBCUs to help identify computer science and engineering students to participate in this Future Force Tech Launchpad program. And we work again with HSIs, Hispanic Service Institutions, HBCUs, and really have our ear to the ground. A lot of our equality employee resource group leaders and members also bring ideas to us, how do we ensure that we stay relevant and obviously increase that representation? Equally important, retain that representation through that employee experience work.
Yeah, and similar to that, Cadence is very involved in the academic community. We offer Black, Latinx, and women scholarships to help students with their tuition. I've been part of the committee just reviewing some of those submissions as well. And I'll just say it's just so impressive to see. And I say kids, what these kids are doing, but it's just amazing to see the work that they provide. We also have an organization dedicated to this. Cadence Academic Network is what we call it. It promotes proliferation of leading edge technologies and methodologies at universities that are known for their engineering and design excellence. So this knowledge network among these selected universities, research institutes, industry advisors, and Cadence facilitates the sharing of the technology expertise in the areas of verification, design, and implementation of our microelectronic systems. So we've already, and it's been, I don't know when it started, but it's been part of our Cadence community for a very long time. So it works on academic partnerships, university software program where they have access to our tools at a very huge discount, and also involvement with our university recruiting.
Oh, nice. Great to hear all of it. And, we're coming to an end to our conversation. And in closing, can both of you share any trends or exciting initiatives that you believe will lead to more diversity, equity, and true inclusion in the future? And maybe we can start with you, Susie.
Yeah, I think there's just so much opportunity when we think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really leverage the momentum that we've had over the past few years due to, the injustice that we've seen in mainstream media, and really hold our companies and leaders accountable for systemic institutional change. One thing that I get really excited about, and I think it can really help other organizations, big or small, is the Racial Equality and Justice Task Force that I spoke about it earlier, which has really helped accelerate our efforts across those 4 areas. And we've seen incredible progress, right? Like URM Black Latinx hiring has doubled since 2020. and that's just amazing to see yourself represented in the organization that you work. 50.7% of our US workforce is now made up of underrepresented groups, right? Exceeding the goal a year ahead of the schedule. And then we have increased our spending in minority-owned businesses by more than 25%. And in 2021, we've seen investment more than $100 million in Black and URM-led companies since 2020. So I think having a task force, having accountability from leaders, and really measure that impact on monthly, quarter, annual basis really can help the company make systemic change. And doing that while documenting the process, right? So we make sure that it stays within the company culture and organization and longevity. So that's one thing that I think is really important. I think the employee resource groups are not something new, right? They've been on the workplace for decades. But having that integration of their ideas and their work in how we operationalize equality, I think is super important. And also the Warm Line, that program that I mentioned earlier that really serves as advocacy for employees, underrepresented employees. It's another way in which we can create a inclusive culture.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Susie. And let me just say, it's been such a pleasure to be on this panel with you, because just listening to you talk and hearing all of this is just very inspirational. Cadence is on our second year of our employee resource, I think it's second or third year of our employee resource group. So that's definitely made a change in the company. All of the speaker events that we do, recognizing, acknowledging, and honoring, celebrating commemorative months for all of these groups as well. It's been important to us, and working with nonprofits and partnerships. I will say, and I'll keep mine short and sweet here, it's where I've seen the change is allowing those representatives from these groups to have their voice and be heard. Right, I've just been given this opportunity to be the lead for the Latinx inclusion group at Cadence, something that never existed before. And of course, it can be a little overwhelming at first, but learning how to pave the way and give others the opportunity to use their voices as well, that's a very powerful thing in a business environment. So I think to be able to enable and support your employees in these groups and give them that voice and be heard. And mine can be very loud at times, and it's still accepted and appreciated. So I think it's just having that kind of opportunity to be your authentic self has changed so much for myself and for the company as well.
Thank you to both of you. It's been great hearing about the work that you're doing and your company's doing to increase diversity and support Latinas in tech. I know it's a very important issue for me. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Patricia.
And everyone who is behind the scenes.
Yes.
Help us get here from the Latinas in Tech group, as members of the organization. I look forward to continue partnership with you all, and please let us know if you have any questions.
Yes.